Hey everybody, today I want to cover a video on the Sprint to T-Mobile merger. That is a very new thing that's recently happened, and I wanted to cover a pain point that I'm currently having at this time, which actually has been resolved as of about 30 minutes ago. So I wanted to be the first, because I couldn't find anything online, to share that news with you. The thing I wanted to cover with you was because recently I went on a trip to Colorado from Nebraska. And during that trip back and forth, I was having a really hard time using any data between that because I was getting 3 to 4 bars of LTE, but I couldn't use any of my apps, I couldn't go online, I couldn't use my Spotify, and that really frustrated me. Even though I had some things downloaded, those worked fine, but anything else that I had to access through data coverage, it definitely did not help me at all. So that made me wonder, if we're moving over to T-Mobile, I should have T-Mobile data coverage and Sprint data coverage, right? They should be combined. And I went online and did some research, and I was like, okay, well, Sprint has about a 30% data coverage of the nation based on what I saw, and I'll throw up some articles here if I can find it for you. And the other thing I found was, I think T-Mobile was around 60 to 62% coverage, and then you have Verizon at about 70% as the #1 data coverage in the nation. So I wanted to find out, okay, if Sprint is actually getting 30%, and that small trip I had like over 90% of the time I had no data coverage, is it worth it to just drop my Sprint coverage and go to T-Mobile? So with the difference of 30% coverage by Sprint and 60-something% coverage by T-Mobile, you'd think you'd have a lot overall better coverage and overlap of that data coverage. That is not necessarily true. When I went back and forth and looking at different articles, I was looking at like the CMDA chips or sensors, I don't know, the networking, they're different for Sprint phones versus T-Mobile phones, and I think it was like a GMA type network that T-Mobile has, and some older Sprint phones may not be compatible with that. So when they actually combine networks, that may require people to update their plans and update their phones, and I'm not sure about the specific details behind that, but it made me worried enough to where I wanted to make sure that I was covered and getting that same coverage that T-Mobile would have. So today I talked to an agent on Sprint to find out what do I have to do and how easy is it for me to move my information from Sprint to T-Mobile to get on their network. And I made some notes here, but basically what I went through and I did first was I went to sprint.com, just on your normal browser or on your phone, whatever you want to do, and I went to chat with agent. So let me record this screen real quick. So the first thing I went ahead and did is I went to sprint.com. I went to their website here, right? And I wanted to find out if I could chat with an agent. I hate calling people. I don't want to go in the store. That's just a hassle. So what I would go through and do is actually go ahead and sign in. Okay, so after you sign in, you go to the chat menu right here. That'll pop up and bring you to an agent. And you can see here that I already had some information and conversation going between me and a previous representative. And I went in here and I started typing out that I wanted to be able to move my services from Sprint to T-Mobile. Can you help me out with that? And they basically got me with a specialist that could get me there. So once I was able to do that, they basically told me that, oh, you don't actually have to cancel your service. We can just move you over to the T-Mobile network on our own. So the first thing they wanted to make sure I needed to do before doing that was making sure I had the most up-to-date software in my phone. So if we go here, we click on the menu button, or the settings button, I'm sorry, scroll all the way down. I don't know if you have an Android or an iPhone, but this is specifically on the Android. We're going to go to System Updates, and making sure that my last update has the most recent software or firmware updates. And I did already have that. I didn't have to do anything extra, right? And you can see here it says download and install. The last check-in was October 19th, 2020, which is today. That's because I already went through the upgrade from Sprint network to T-Mobile network. That was a way for me to just double check that yes, it did actually go through. Okay, so through the steps, once again, we're gonna say you had to do a software check, make sure you're up to date on your software. You're gonna tell them that you wanna move over from the Sprint networking to the T-Mobile networking. They will then instruct you on the next steps to do. In my case, I don't know if it's different for everyone, but they told me to turn off my phone. When they turn it off, they did updates or whatever they need to do on their side. They asked me to turn on my phone. So once I turned it back on, everything was activating again, and it asked me to register my device, so I did that. And then they told me, you need to dial this number. So it's like hashtag something 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 hashtag. I don't know what it was, but they basically, and I don't know if it's different for each person, so I'm sure your representative may tell you the same code or different, but either way, the customer service agent needs to be able to do this for you on the back end, so even having this code wouldn't do much for you in the first place if you didn't have their help, I would assume. So after you do that, it says registering your device to the network. So I did that. It took maybe a minute, 2 minutes to do that. And after you do that, then you have to go through, and I went onto my mobile apps. They wanted to ask to confirm my data usage is on the T-Mobile network by trying out different things. So I turned off my Wi-Fi, I went onto YouTube and watched a video, and I pulled that up, and instantly I noticed I was able to get into the video. I noticed there was zero buffering. I noticed that the speed was just incredibly fast. So I went from YouTube, I went to Instagram, and I started scrolling through Instagram, clicking on profiles, and it was just boom, 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 just going really, really fast, right? So I messaged them back and I said, okay, everything seems to be working fine. And they said, yes, on our side, the data is coming through fine on the T-Mobile network, so you're good to go. Is there anything else you need from us today? It was really, really simple. The problem with this is that it took me like 2 to 3 representatives from T-Mobile and 2 to 3 representatives from Sprint over the course of a week to tell me that is what I could do. And it was only at the point where I told them I wanted to leave Sprint coverage and go to T-Mobile coverage that they were able to do this for me. So I hope for you guys, if you're having the same problem that I'm having, it's as simple as just going, hey, I want to go from the Sprint network to the T-Mobile network. And it is that easy for you. If it's not, you may have to be able to say, I want to leave Sprint network because I'm not getting the data coverage I need and I want to go to T-Mobile. And that should hopefully help you out. Okay, so to recap, if you're having problems with this Sprint data coverage and you want the capability of going onto the T-Mobile data network, you need to contact Sprint. Okay? Once you contact Sprint, you can do this over the phone or in chat. I have not checked in person, but I'm assuming it's the same. You would go through and you'd have to tell the person to go from Sprint to T-Mobile networking. They would have you turn off your phone. They would update everything on their side. You need to go through then and reactivate, dial in a specific number. That number is going to allow you to register your phone to the T-Mobile network, and instantly it's available. Once you do that, you're all set to go. There are no additional fees. There are no updates to your plan. Based on what the representative told me, if you see something that's showing up on your plan, you need to take that up with Sprint. I don't know anything about that, and I just literally did this about 30 minutes ago. So hopefully there's no additional charges based on what the representative said. There shouldn't be. So I hope this helps you out, and if it did help you out, please leave a like on the video. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe. I hope your data coverage gets a lot better, and take care. Peace.